What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Modern Mining. Well, a long time ago, probably about a year ago, I made a video on solar crypto mining. Is solar a good idea for home GPU mining, home ASIC mining, and even home solo mining or DePIN? And in that video, I basically came to the conclusion that there's not really a cheap way to do it where, in my opinion, it actually makes financial sense to do it. And that's assuming that you're not hooking your whole house up to it. So obviously, a lot of people, especially out west, have a full solar arrays on the roof that supports their whole power needs. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a few panels installed specifically for crypto mining. And in my previous video, I will put it up here, I basically said that I don't think that is financially worth it, mainly because of the fees that it takes to get a grid tie system that's hooking up directly to your house, and or a bunch of batteries to not have to do a grid tie system. The batteries or the permits for the grid tie system are both massive costs that make it not worth it to do unless you're doing a full home array sort of thing. But that's about to change in this video. Long-winded intro. I found a way to do a relatively small crypto setup pretty cheap on solar, so we're going to check it out today. Today's video is sponsored by Crypto Miner Bros, a reliable and highly trusted ASIC miner reseller. There are a couple huge benefits to buying from Crypto Miner Bros. The first is that the price on their website is the all-in price shipped to your door, no hidden fees. The second is that they have a massive selection of all the popular miners. My current favorite miner is the DG Home 1, which I got from Crypto Miner Bros. Don't forget to use code MODERN for $70 off each item regardless of price. Purchasing ASIC miners can be risky with tons of scams going around. Why not make it easy with Crypto Miner Bros? Check them out today with the link down below. And the way to do that is with one of these portable electric generators. There's a whole different bunch of brands of them. I'm sure you've heard. This is a Allpowers model, but there's Anchor, there's Bluetti, there's Jackery. There's so many different brands. Some are better than others, and we're going to discuss that in this video. But this holds the key to relatively budget solar crypto mining. Now, it's not going to cover my whole farm here. I don't want to put the wrong impression, but my hope is in this video to maybe run at least 3 or 4 of these smaller DePIN devices off of this unit right here, and maybe save 100 watts or something like that off my power bill. I could do much more, but as I mentioned in that other solar video, I do not have a good place to run solar panels, but I came up with something small that I'll show you right now. So this is the side of my house. You guys have seen this a lot of times. This is my exhaust window here, my little awning to keep rain out. And then this little device right here is my new temperature sensor that gets the temp from outside and inside, so I can see the delta there. And then this is a flexible 200 watt solar panel. And this is what I'm planning to run at least some crypto miners off of. So just to give you reference on how this works with the sun, I can't put panels in my front yard because I have massive tree. Can't put panels in my backyard because there's a massive tree over there. But right here on this corner of my house, there's a reason this looks so arid right here, is because, especially during the summer, that sun is right up there, and basically the whole afternoon it comes down and finally goes behind that house. But for most of the day, it is very, very sunny and very, very hot over here. So my plan today is, this is a sticky panel. I don't know if I want to take the stickiness off and ruin that part of it. I may just literally put it right there where it is, or I could stick it on the house up there. But that's the plan. So I'm going to just have a little bit of solar out here, 200 watt panel. If it goes well, maybe I get another one of those sticky panels. But my issue, and I have something coming today, an MC4 extender to get this long enough to reach down in there. I don't have that yet, so we'll see if I can get this to reach for this video, or I might need to finish it tomorrow. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at that Allpowers unit. All right, so before we get into the details of this unit, what is the kind of thought process of using this instead of a battery system or a grid tie system? So like I mentioned, grid tie system, it's very convenient because your miners, if they're not mining through solar, then they're just pulling AC power from your house like normal. Everything's fine. But that grid tie itself, you have to let the electric companies know about that, and that is expensive with the permits and the fees and paying someone to write up the plans. Same issue with if you go for a battery system and skip the grid tie, you got to buy a shitload of batteries. That costs a lot of money as well. What this does, some units, unfortunately this one does not, but we'll get to that. This allows you to, in some cases, plug this into the house, so an AC charger from the house that's charging up the battery in this unit, and you can plug panels into this unit as well, and then you can plug your miners into this unit as well. And then some units have what's called a PV priority, which will basically pull from solar before they pull from the house, and therefore this is basically acting as a grid tie system, but it's only using this, and you don't have to get permits because it's never going to feed back into the grid. Now the issue there would be that you can only use as much solar as something like this accepts, and this one specifically accepts 1,000. But my issue is I got this as a review unit. I do Amazon reviews on the side, and unfortunately this one does not have the PV priority mode. So I can't plug a GPU mining rig in to this and have this power it from the house when solar's not working and have solar power it when solar is working. It doesn't work like that. But I can only plug solar panels into this and a couple weak miners, and just make sure that the solar panels are stronger than the miners in keeping this above 0% battery. So with a 200 watt panel placed out there in a non-ideal location, that would basically mean I can probably support less than 100 watts of miners, unfortunately. Now I do have another 200 watt panel right here, but this one is a big rigid one, and unfortunately I just don't really have a good place to put that. I could wire that in either, I think I would want to do parallel with the one that's out there. I do have the Y cables for that down there, but I just don't have a great place to put that. But I might still just lean that shit up against the house if this whole plan works good. So, all right. Before we get into this, one last thing I want to say. Thank you to Brad Cagle. He has a whole YouTube channel reviewing batteries, power stations, solar generators, all kinds of stuff. I will have a link down to his channel down below. He is actually the one that gave me this idea, and he did it with the Bluetti power station. And I've sent Bluetti 100 emails asking them to send me one of these so I can make a video on it, and they have never responded to a single one of them. So if you guys want to do me a real favor, go to Bluetti's site and ping them a bunch of times and tell them they need to send Modern Mining a solar generator, because that has the PV priority mode, and that would make it so I could run a GPU rig off of solar, which would be awesome. All right, so let's get into setting this up, guys. All right, so like I mentioned, that solar panel does not have very long leads on it. This is basically as far as those will go, but the power generator takes this cable as its solar input. It doesn't take MC4, and if I plug that in, boom, it actually looks like it is going to be long enough, which is nice because I didn't want to use a 5-foot extender MC4 cable if I didn't have to, because the longer your cable run, the greater loss. So I'm going to go ahead and plug these in, and then let's move that generator over here and decide what we want to plug into it and what devices we want to power. I wish I had like a little table or something over there to set this on. Go ahead and put this over here. That is pretty dang heavy. All right, so let me show you guys where this plugs into. Over here, we've got our inputs, and then solar goes over here. I'm definitely gonna need some sort of table or something to put this on so it's not so awkward filming it. But okay, now we should be able to see on the screen exactly what our input is. Yep, here you can see there, solar is ramping up. 85 watts input. That's unfortunate because I charged this thing to full like a few weeks ago and it's totally, looks like it didn't hold any charge, which is actually insane. That it somehow lost 100% of charge just sitting in the garage. Like I mentioned, this was a review unit. I would not suggest to get this one specifically. But let's go clean off that solar panel and see if we can get that higher than 85 watts. Maybe move it around positions a little bit and see if there's anything better. I'm sure you guys can hear that, but those cicadas, man, they've been so bad for almost 2 months at this point, I feel like. And you don't ever really notice them, but when you're trying to make videos out here, certainly makes it a lot more annoying. So let's just try to angle this a little bit better and maybe scoot it slightly further down so more of it is in the sun. This is not a bifacial, so it's not super important for sun to be behind it to get kind of all of that 200 watts. All right, let's see if maybe that's any better. I wish I had a wet rag because there's a decent amount of dust on here. Okay, not too bad. That is so frustrating that that thing is totally out of battery. It's filled the entire generator up with power and then a month later it's just totally empty. All right, well the good news is that helped big time, all the way up to 130 watts. We almost doubled what we had. So what do I want to do here? I'm probably gonna go ahead and hook a power cord up to this to start getting it charging up to 100. But man, that might just make this whole plan not work because I was assuming that only the devices drain it. But if this thing drains just sitting here on its own, then my 130 watts of power a few hours a day is not going to be enough but to run maybe like one solo miner or something like that. Now granted, I still have this thing, so I want to try to do this anyway, but that's kind of throwing a big wrench in my plans. All right, I did go ahead and run an extension cord over to charge it up this way as well. Now you can see our input is 494 watts. Let's get this thing up to like 70%. It'll probably be a day or so when I get back to filming. And then once it's all charged up, then we can try to plug a few devices in and see if it's going to be able to maintain its charge with just one panel and a couple devices. Okay guys, it is the next day. This is all charged up now. I used the wall to charge it. And you can see here, we are at 100%. It shows 0 watts input, but that's just another glitch of this brand, is that once you hit 100%, I guess it stops calculating the intake, but it is still getting solar because that would have dropped a little bit overnight and it's still at 100%. So what's up next? I've got a power strip right here. So we're gonna go ahead and plug this in and then bring this power strip up top here, and then we'll select a few devices, maybe 2 for right now, and see how much we can actually power over the next few days and see how much this drops. And maybe once we get a load on this, it might start showing the input and output wattage again. So this power strip is not that long, so I think I am gonna prop this up on a bucket just to raise it a little bit up off the floor. Probably good in case there's a flood or anything anyway. I eventually want to get some sort of like maybe shelf or table or something to put back here. This cable does not need to be plugged in anymore. All right, that's relatively sturdy. So again, I should state that this is probably not cost effective in terms of your own solar setup, but I'm just really wanting to try this since I got this unit for free and see kind of what results I can get and maybe give some of you guys ideas or even myself ideas for other routes that you could possibly take. So in here, we have our outlets, and these are max 20 amps, so they should be able to handle a decent amount of current. And then somewhere here we need to turn this on. There we go. So now these are all live. I don't know if this has, oh, yep, this is live. So now let's see which units we want to charge. Damn, this only reaches like up to here, so I'm certainly going to need to get some sort of longer extension cord at some point. But let's see, to get us started here, maybe I run my little Bitcoin price tracker. That thing can't use more than a few watts, so we'll do that one first. And actually, this doesn't even need a brick because this powers USBs. So we'll do that one. And then I would like to say I'm solo mining Bitcoin on solar. So why don't we do our BitX Gamma too, which is this cord. I gotta trace it back. This cord right here. And then hell, we'll do one more. How about this anyone router? Looks like it is this one right here. So let's try that too. And then I'm gonna put a little screw back here so this can be held up. I'll show you guys that. So the BitX is on, this is on, but this is not on. So maybe I need to, that one I have the USB plugged directly into the power strip right here. Maybe I need to just actually plug that into a cube and plug it onto here. I just realized that fan's not on. Oh, there it is. Huh. So I'm gonna put a screw in this so that I can hang it like right there, maybe, just short term. Let's see, is this showing any output now? Hey, there we go, 93 watts output. So that's probably gonna be too much, and that I don't even think is counting for the anyone device, because even if we're generating 150 watts of solar, you gotta think about all the nighttime and all of that, where that isn't going to be doing anything, and it's going to be slowly running that battery down. But at the same token, some days we might have 200 watts on the panel and get back a little bit of the room. So I'm going to unplug the anyone device, put that back on the main strip, and see if that reduces us at all from 93. I needed to use a smaller screw. That one doesn't fit on there. There we go, nice. Okay, so this needs to come out and be plugged back into this right here. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I just had to plug this cord in and it would have worked fine. So we should still be at 93 watts. Yes, we are. So interesting. I don't remember the BitX Gamma being so many watts. Maybe this little guy's pulling a decent amount. 93 watts between the BitX Gamma and this. Now we can officially say that we are Bitcoin mining on solar power. Very interesting. I'm gonna let this run for a few days, guys, and we will see how it looks like. All right, so I went to grab the watt meter because that 93 watts was making no sense. I Googled a BitX Gamma is supposed to run at like 18 watts, so that was making no sense. Well, turns out I accidentally put my nerd QAX on there, which is fine. Maybe even better. We're still technically solo mining Bitcoin. So I will leave that going. Hey, and look, now that we've hit 99%, the input is working again. So we've got 27 watts input of solar and 91 watts output, 92 watts output. Let's go take a look at how cloudy it is today, because that's certainly not a lot of solar, but it is pretty cloudy. So there you can see, pretty cloudy day. Panel is still up over here. Could probably optimize this a little bit more, but I'm just gonna let it run for a bit and see how it goes. Could also maybe lean that other panel like right here just against the house. I don't know, someone who knows more about solar, give me some ideas on kind of how I could lay the panels out here. All right guys, it is another day again, and the results are unfortunately not looking very good. So this is what we're looking at. We're at 46% usage after 24 hours, or 46% of the battery left. Now, it is a very cloudy day today. We're only getting 10 watts input, and the output says 0 watts, which is incorrect again. This little thing's kind of a piece of shit. But what I did was I actually switched the BitAx Gamma onto it instead of the Nerd QX, because the Nerd QX was obviously going to be way too much wattage. Even with the BitAx Gamma, we're already down to 46%. But before I made that swap, it was already at like 60%. So I think if it had been the BitAx Gamma the whole time, we may only be at like 80% battery right now. And on days where, like yesterday, where we're getting 130 watts on the panels, that should charge it relatively fast, since that's only like 20 watts. So I'm gonna leave it as is. Hopefully we get some sunny days and see if that balances it out. But let me know your all's thoughts on this little experiment. Certainly didn't turn out as good as I wanted it to. It would be a whole different situation if I had one of those Blue Eddy units that does PV priority, because then you can plug that into the wall and it doesn't matter if your battery goes dead or not, if it's cloudy or whatever, because it backs up to the house. So that would be the more ideal situation, but still pretty cool to say that I'm mining Bitcoin with the sun. So thanks for watching Modern Mining, guys. I will have a link to another video up here. Check it out.